The Boys has always been a show built on realism. Well, realism through a twisted, blood-splattered lens. Every broken bone, every political scandal, every corporate stunt. It all feels uncomfortably close to the world we live in. That's what makes it hit so hard. It's not just superheroes gone bad. It's people in power doing exactly what people in power would do if they could shoot lasers from their eyes. So when Gen V Season 2 introduced Annabeth Moreau, a character who can apparently see into the future, it quietly did something no one expected. It broke the rules that the boys had spent years building. And that's what this theory dives into. How Annabeth's new ability of precognition doesn't just add a new twist to the story. It might have just changed the entire DNA of the boys' universe itself. The boys' biggest rule: everything has to feel real. Before we even get to Annabeth, you have to remember how the boys has always handled power. From the start, Eric Kripke and his writers made one rule clear. Everything, no matter how insane, has to feel like it could exist in the real world. That's why they stripped away the comic book's weirder stuff. The alien hero Jack from Jupiter? Gone. The Seven's floating satellite base? Replaced with a glass and steel corporate tower in Manhattan. Even powers that seem supernatural are usually rooted in biology or science. Compound V doesn't create magic. It rewires the body. It messes with muscles, nerves, and senses. That's why Homelander's laser eyes come from his physiology, not from some mystical energy beam. Everything about the boys screams realism. An exaggerated realism, sure, but it's always grounded. And that's what makes it work. You believe it because it feels like an ugly, possible version of our world. Which is why Annabeth's ability immediately feels different. Annabeth's power isn't like anything the boys have ever done. When we first see Annabeth's power in Gen V Season 2, it's easy to miss how groundbreaking it is. She's not flying, she's not melting steel, and she's not reading minds. She's seeing flashes of what's about to happen. And that's something totally new. Because until now, every psychic in the boys has operated on a clear physical line. They connect with people. Mesmer reads thoughts. Kate manipulates minds. They influence human behavior. Annabeth, though, interacts with time itself. Her visions don't come from anyone's brain. They come from the universe. She's not responding to someone else's actions. She's reacting to fate. That's a massive shift for this franchise. Because once you open the door to the future, you're not just changing the story. You're changing the entire way the world works. This is where things start to break apart, beautifully, dangerously, curiously. Why precognition changes everything about the boys. World Annabeth's power introduces one thing the boys has always avoided: the idea of destiny. Up until now, the boys has been brutal because everything felt unpredictable. No one is safe, no one is chosen, and every death, no matter how shocking, feels like the result of someone's action, not some divine plan. But precognition changes that. If Annabeth can see the future, that means the future already exists. Time becomes a loop instead of a line. Cause and effect start to blur. Suddenly, actions might not matter as much, because what if it's all been decided already? That's not just confusing. It's dangerous for a story like The Boys, because its emotional power depends on choice and consequence. But now, if Annabeth can peek into events that haven't happened yet, it means those events are set in motion. And that quietly introduces a terrifying question. Do the boys even have free will anymore? The butterfly problem. Changing the future may cause it. Here's where this gets even more interesting. If Annabeth's visions are of possible futures, then her trying to change them might be what actually causes them. That's the classic time paradox. The butterfly effect loop, where trying to prevent a future event is exactly what makes it happen. Let's say Annabeth sees Marie killing someone close to her. If she tries to stop it, she might act in a way that actually triggers Marie's violent outburst. Her fear of the vision becomes the reason it happens. That's a concept the boys has never played with before, something closer to Minority Report or Doctor Strange than the grounded world Kripke built. It's fascinating, but it's also unstable, because once you start playing with paradoxes, logic starts to collapse. If Annabeth can alter the timeline, that means there are alternate realities, multiple versions of the boys' world, each with different outcomes. But that's not the show we've been watching. That's Marvel territory. Why this power breaks the boys' realism. The reason this theory matters is that it exposes the one thing the boys was always proud to avoid: fantasy logic. The show's darkness works because it feels like our world, with no filters. Every trope is an exaggeration of something real: political greed, celebrity culture, or religious corruption. But once you add precognition, the rules shift from realism to metaphysics. Now we're talking about fate, timelines, alternate futures, things that exist outside the human experience. Suddenly, The Boys isn't about what humans do with power. It's about how the universe itself operates, and that breaks the illusion of realism that made it special. The only way this can make sense, without breaking The Boys, but here's where the theory gets really clever. Because there is a way for Annabeth's powers to make sense without turning The Boys into a sci-fi paradox show. What if she's not actually seeing the future at all? Think about it. The show has introduced characters with superintelligence before, like Sister Sage, who can read patterns and predict human behavior like a living computer. We've also seen Tech Knight, whose heightened senses let him notice microscopic details no one else can. So what if Annabeth's visions aren't mystical at all? What if her brain is subconsciously combining both of those traits, hyper-awareness and soup calculation? That means every time Annabeth sees the future, her brain is simply predicting the most probable outcome based on everything she's sensing. It's not prophecy. It's probability. How this would actually work? Let's break it down with an example. When Annabeth saw her parents' deaths, maybe she wasn't seeing fate. Maybe she was processing micro details her conscious mind couldn't handle. She might have noticed subtle physical changes in Marie, tiny tremors, elevated pulse, something off with her energy, combined with the fact that both of them had been dosed with compound V. Her subconscious put it all together. Something uncontrollable is about to happen, and the only people nearby are her parents. The vision of their death wasn't supernatural. It was the logical prediction of a soup brain working in overdrive. Or take the scene in Elmira, when she somehow knew exactly when and where Sam would burst through a wall. Maybe her enhanced hearing picked up faint vibrations of his footsteps, or the creak of metal from the right section of the building. Her mind did the rest, calculating where the impact would happen. To everyone else, it looks like magic, but to her, it's just instinct, her body reacting to data faster than she can understand it. That's not precognition. It's extreme perception. Why this explanation saves The Boys? If this is true, then The Boys still stays loyal to its world's logic. Because instead of introducing destiny, time loops, or alternate realities, Annabeth's ability would still be biological, an extension of how far Compound V can push the human body. It's the same principle that gave us soups who can teleport, heal, or melt steel with heat vision, just evolved in a subtler, scarier way. That keeps the show grounded. It's not magic, it's not time travel. It's biology, math, and pure instinct. And that fits perfectly with the moral tone of The Boys. Because think about it. What's more terrifying than someone who can calculate the future like it's math? Someone who doesn't see destiny, just probabilities. Someone who can tell with almost perfect accuracy how you'll die. Not because she's a prophet, but because she understands people better than they understand themselves. That's a different kind of horror. And it fits the show's realism perfectly. The deeper meaning. Why Annabeth matters. When you think about it, Annabeth might actually be The Boys' most important new character, not because of what she can do, but because of what she represents. She blurs the line between power and knowledge, between instinct and control, between knowing what's coming and being powerless to stop it. If her ability really is subconscious, that means she doesn't even want to see the future. It's happening to her. That makes her a tragic figure, trapped by her own awareness. And thematically, that fits right in with The Boys. Obsession with power is a curse. Homelander's strength isolates him. Starlight's empathy endangers her. And now, Annabeth's awareness might destroy her sanity. It's the perfect continuation of what this show does best, showing that every gift is secretly a nightmare. Why this theory changes the way we see The Boys forever. If this theory is right, Annabeth's precognition might be The Boys' biggest narrative risk yet, and its most brilliant one. On the surface, it looks like the show finally broke its own rules. But look closer, and it might actually be evolving them. Because The Boys has always been about power corrupting reality. And what's scarier than a power that can literally rewrite perception of reality? If Annabeth's brain can process time faster than everyone else's, then she's living milliseconds ahead of the world. A human supercomputer trapped in a teenager's mind. That's horrifying, that's tragic, and that's exactly what The Boys has always been about, the human cost of being superhuman. The final takeaway, so no, Annabeth doesn't ruin The Boys. She tests it. She pushes it into new territory without breaking what makes it special. But she also serves as a reminder of how fragile that realism is. Because one small twist, one new power, can make the entire world feel different. Annabeth's ability, whether it's true precognition or superintelligence in disguise, changes how we see the boys' world forever. It asks whether reality in this universe is still controlled by human decisions, or if, deep down, it's already been written. And that's what makes this theory so haunting, because maybe the boys hasn't broken at all. Maybe it's finally showing us the one thing it's been hinting at since the very beginning. The moment you try to control power, power starts controlling time.